Well, good morning, everyone. I know I said last week that I would try not to start, longer than 10 minutes, longer than 10 minutes after our usual start time. But when nature calls, you have to answer. So, welcome to the stream. Hey, Echo Hellion, welcome back. Welcome back. It's good to see you this morning. Dancing dinosaurs. Interesting. Interesting. I have been out of streaming for long enough that I feel like that is like an ancient childhood animation, but I know that that's probably only like, I don't know, a few years old. The Dino Dance. Man. But yeah, hey, good morning. So this morning, we are going to be doing a few different things from last week. We're going to catch up a little bit with what I got to write, and then discuss a little bit of what I was trying to accomplish with how I was writing, what I was writing, and who I was writing. And then I think we might actually do a little bit of like Photoshop sketching. I may open up Illustrator. I'm about as comfortable in Illustrator as I am in Photoshop, which means I'm not terribly comfortable with it, which is really sad because my job requires me to be somewhat familiar with both of those programs. But this week has been absolutely diabolical for me. So I guess since I'm talking to Echo and I think one other person in the chat, in my real life I am a kind of carte blanche media production guy. I'm a videographer. I'm a editor, motion graphics designer, and editor. Also a voice actor. So I do a lot of narration for commercials and e-learning and all sorts of crap. Also occasional script writer and editor. But that doesn't happen terribly often because we have a lot of really capable people at my company. But as a part of this job, also occasionally I have to fly a drone, which for any of you, so Echo, I don't know if you're based in the U.S. or not. I'm East Coast U.S. For any of you based in the U.S., I assume it's the same in the EU and some other countries. Flying a drone is illegal with some caveats unless you are licensed with the FAA. So this past week I've been diving headlong into practice test on practice test on practice test because I, for my job, have to fly a drone in a commercial field, and without a commercial license from the FAA, I would be breaking the law and be subject to all sorts of fines and possibly imprisonment if I was ever caught. So today I will actually be taking my exam. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. My last practice exam, I got an 80%. It's like the best test score I've gotten since probably high school. Which is pretty pathetic, honestly, but I was never very good at studying. So anyways, that's not what this stream is about, but I'm just letting you know where my mind is at. I'm a little stressed. I didn't get to write as much. Yeah, I didn't get to write as much as I had hoped this week, but I did get to do a little bit of writing. So last week we had read through and talked about Yorn, Old Man Yorn, and we had discussed a bit of what his journey was going to be, what we wanted it to be, story points that we wanted to hit, and just a broad description of where he was going to go. In that, we briefly discussed that he was going to meet three characters that I don't think we even touched on much at all last week. And these are three characters that I had intended for him to interact with, and I wanted them to be I wanted them to be a part of the story. I hadn't totally fleshed them out. I had just a rough idea, but then I didn't even realize that subconsciously I had actually just included the meme of 3 kobolds in a trench coat into the story, and I kind of loved that. So I'm gonna kind of lean into that a little bit at a certain point in the story. So that discussion, about the 3 kobolds in a trench coat and the journey that Yorn was taking meant that I kind of had to explore a little bit of what these characters, the 3 kobolds, were going to be about, what they were going to do, what they were going to say. And I'm just now noticing, I think my script, it looks like it didn't update from when I was typing on my other computer. That's annoying. Did it not? Whoa. Google Docs, do you hate? Okay, no, it did. It did. Okay. We're good. I'm not crazy. And I could actually just show you what it is I am looking at here. All right. So last week, like I said, we were reading through parts of the script that I had already written, or the bits of the script I'd already written, and we did a lot of like little note taking of, talking about what we didn't really like, or what we wanted to change, where we wanted stuff to go. Made a lot of comments, which I think I was not terribly good about actually like showing in the stream. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little rusty on stream management as the producer and host of the show. I'm much more used to, at least in the last several years, of being just behind the production scene. So I'm having to use my brain, and that's a dangerous endeavor. Here are some of the notes that we didn't really cover last week about these 3 characters. So as a little bit of a reminder, Yorn, I guess we can actually just go up to the top here. So Yorn is the smith of this place called Akershus. Now, in what we are writing of this story, the last descendants of, like, I don't even know if that's the appropriate title that I'm going to keep long term. Yorn is not in Akershus in this story. That's just where he's eventually going to end up, and where he's going to be in this other story that I'm hoping we can weave together as side-by-side narratives. So this is the story of kind of how he came to be so long-lived, so venerated by the 3 kobolds, Lurka, Bosmov, and Wadrix. And I'm not fully attached to any of these names. I think I like Wadrix. I'm kind of torn on having the X be guttural or like a palatal stop. But we'll get to that. So Yorn searches for the mountain heart. It's a rooting gem, so to contain the soul of the mountain, the thing that was the beginning of the great rocky entity, a big towering mountain. The mountain heart occasionally comes to him in visions, seeming to call him toward it as his destiny. The egg mates, these are the 3 kobolds, lost from their home, quest for the power to retrieve their people and destroy the invaders that killed them. I think we're going to discuss this a little bit and possibly change this a little bit as we go on today and tomorrow. They meet while fleeing malicious and dark creatures. Again, I think we're going to change that a little bit. We already kind of changed that last week. Yorn begins as a young and adventurous man seeking a destiny, amorphous, cursed with wanderlust. Actually, I think I'm just going to right now, put that up at the top. Because some of that has already changed, but not much of it has changed. It's roughly the same idea as what we are still going for. And this is a big thing that we kind of changed last week. So and I like that we changed that. We're just going to get rid of that. Yorn travels during the uncertain times of the Lycian pre-wars empire. And this is something that we discussed last week and that we made the change to. And again, I really like this change because it makes things uncertain regarding his travels. So that's roughly the main gist of Yorn. And I think if we go up to the very top here, we even have the journey chart that we made last week. So this is roughly the arc of what is going to happen in the story. And, this is malleable. Some of this will and certainly should change or can change. We also didn't even finish it because it's not terribly important, I think, to have a fully ironed out roadmap of where your story is going to take you. I think you should always be willing and able to change things up as it suits you. But so Yorn is going to start in the city-state town, Arbia. He's going to travel to this other place named Jula that he's somewhat familiar with. He planned not to follow the Mount Falls northward, so basically a big mountain range northward. You should be able to see it on the map to the left of me. I don't know if I can get to the left of me. Actually, I think, excuse me, for those of you that are watching this, it would be on your right. It's that big mountain range that goes kind of a C curve north to south. Because it would add time to his journey and would likely not be any safer. He knows someone that he could... I think my cat is being rambunctious. I think she's trying to get in the room. He knows someone from Jula that he learns of the extended conflict. Progresses to Ethigara over river, then there's other places. Travels northward against the river. Makes a stop. Opts for a different path. Or maybe the original path, but it's a different path than what he could have taken. And makes his way to Garrett's Shale, which is roughly where the story is at as far as we have written it. So we kind of started writing from the middle of the first arc, or maybe it's the end of I guess it would be the end of the first arc. And then he makes it to Gurodal, this big fortress city, city-state kind of thing. Again, if you're looking at the map, it's kind of like if you follow the left side of the map, it's the big city icon, more than halfway up the map on kind of the left side. Yorn's journey takes a seat, and he's forced to stay there, but he learns that he is not the only one seeking the MacGuffin, which is that big gem that we mentioned earlier. And maybe he's being hunted. Again, we'll figure that out some other time. And then he meets 3 kobolds in a trench coat. Which, again, I'm really excited about. I love that we could add just a stupid meme into the story. Not that we're gonna super lean into the meme. I think it's gonna happen that these kobolds are gonna be in a big cloak or a trench coat or whatever, because that's funny and also kind of makes sense. But I also don't want the story to just be a farce. And here we say that Wadrix had foreseen in a vision they need to find Yorn. And we wanted to add vision description, which is kind of what I did this week, because they want to save their clan, which is why they're in Gurodal, safer than the wild. They tell him they know of a path, yada yada yada, and the rest of this doesn't really matter. I think, right? So, yeah, doesn't really matter. So, let's go back down to the bottom here. So, that's roughly the idea of where the story is going to go. But since we're going to be introducing these 3 scaly scaly guys, gals, people, scaly kin, I felt it would be necessary to sort of work through their characterization, some of their description, what they do, even a little bit of backstory for them. So this kind of all here is more or less. I have some. You may remember from last week. I have entirely too much stuff just written on paper and printouts that I have attempted to compile over the years, which has also gone missing or has just been like on the edges of pages, so I don't really know where the notes are. But what I've written here, is more or less everything that I have already decided about the characterization of these three characters: Alurka, Bosmov, and Wadrix. Again, I'm not totally sold on the names, probably need to do a little bit of workshopping, but since I've already used them in the story, we'll talk about how their naming and naming convention kind of work with the story. So, the first two, Alurka and Bosmov, are meant to sort of be foils of each other and play off of each other's strengths well. You might see that Alurka's name is meant to mean something like Small Hide Run. Bosmov is meant to mean something like Bold Head Strong. So kind of polar opposites. Maybe not exactly polar, but they have different strengths, obviously. Wadrix is very different and was born with the gift of second sight. I don't know about second sight exactly, but they have some sort of psychic divination, the ability to have visions and sort of like astral project, which is, again, as I think I already mentioned already, this is a little bit of what I wrote about this week, what I explored a little bit. The three were able to escape the fate of their clan. As a part of their escape, they found or discovered a key to the MacGuffin. I haven't gotten there yet, but I like that idea that the reason that they come to be relied upon by Yorn is because they know something. They meet Yorn somehow. We actually determined how. It's going to be in Guradal. They're going to be 3 kobolds in a trench coat. That's going to be great. And they determine him to be the key of their survival / the revival of their kin. So something I don't think that I wrote up here, but it is something we discussed last week, is what happened to their kin. So, what happened to the kin? And I should have kept the images of the critters that we were looking at last week. I guess it doesn't really matter. Basically, big bad evil creatures. Big bad evil critters appeared while the trio were away from home and killed, stole, etc. Everybody. The trio don't know exactly what happened, only that there are evil critters in their home and their people seem to be dead and gone. That's basically what happened. Sucks, but that's how it do. So what we are going to do now is I'm just going to do some reading, which I hope won't bore people. But I feel like one of the better things that has always worked for me is to write, and then read. I think it's partly just my background of being narration adjacent for my professional life, as well as just kind of what I grew up doing. I find it very helpful to write like you're going to read, and read like you want to write / how you want it to be performed, or how you want it to be understood. Because as you are trying to read it like you want it to be understood, you'll find out if your writing actually makes sense in that sense. I don't know if I'm explaining this terribly well. So basically, I like to read out loud what I have written to see if it sounds like I hope it has been written. I think that's the best way I can really explain it. So here's where we were. I'm going to take a little sip of my slightly lukewarm already decaf coffee. Oh, and I didn't make it very well. It is also it is also very watered down decaf coffee. Ah, yes. I am a disappointment to myself. Just as I think most people are to themselves. Or maybe that's just me. You'll have to let me know. If I also disappoint you, let me know. Alrighty. Horizon to horizon, a sable endlessness wrinkled by inky, shadowy atmosphere stretched, desolate of any recognizable form, barren of noise, scent, or taste. From somewhere, an echoed whisper of some inhospitable, unrecognizable energy poured forth, lapping against unfeasible geometry. Motion was impossible, but consciousness existed. The consciousness knew of itself, and knew it had knowledge. It knew who it was, and where it should be, though it guarded these two with intense focus. I am, the consciousness manifested. I am who I was, and I will who I shall be. The consciousness let its manifestation persist, as it was, and used what little senses it had in the place to perceive any change. To its reluctant relief, little change was apparent. The place seemed to permeate a sensation of fear into the consciousness, and it dared little to pull it further within itself. Still, the consciousness knew it must endeavor if it was to make any progress here. The consciousness altered its form, forming itself to occupy more of the area it was in. Okay, so already this is something that I was struggling with to try and write. I'm not sold on referring to whoever or whatever this is as just the consciousness. You may even see that I already had a little comment that I made last night that I need to find a way to describe or redefine what the consciousness is. Spoilers, it's an astral projection. So bear with me while I struggle through this, and hopefully you're not struggling terribly with it as I read it. The consciousness altered its space, forming itself to occupy more of the area it was in. It became broad, and struggled to maintain its density. It felt its core fluctuate with the effort, and centered its presence. A breach from any weakness might be fatal to its cause. Concentration and caution were paramount. It grew, and its perception became more apparent. At the edges of the horizon, colors began to flicker, then spasm, and suddenly the dark was fading. An image was revealing itself. A distant place, somewhere the consciousness was unaware of. A great and powerful sea stretched out beyond gray beaches that cut up against stark, salt-sprayed cliffs of color-strewn rock. Beside the cliffs, sprawled out as though tumbled from their heights, a city of some size stretched, eventually butting against the quay of its own harbor, where great vessels maneuvered. Buildings of many sizes and of foreign design passed as the vision moved toward some uncertain goal within the area. Eventually it settled before a structure that the consciousness recognized, though it knew not how. The place was more than one building, though to a casual glance it would appear homogeneous. Whitewashed stone and mortar walls, some parts old but of solid build, a second story of plaster and wood, with purposeful but plain shingling, an earthen complement to the main structure that made for a stark, contrasting line against the bright blue sky. Glass windows and wooden shutters displayed some of the wealth of the place, as did the solid oak door and brick paving at its front along the avenue the building sat. A simple, but impeccably built and maintained structure. The vision seemed certain to demonstrate as it shifted angles and perceptions. Finally, a hanging sign above the lower front window of the building was shown, and upon it, a sigil with foreign symbols, likely some sort of writing beneath it. The consciousness felt the sigil burn within it, a powerful and important icon. It did not know why the sigil was significant, but understood from the vision that it would need to seek it out, wherever it might be. As suddenly as the colorful vision had arrived, so too had it fled to the baleful darkness. So too had it fled, and the baleful darkness returned. Now, however, the energy had shifted. No longer a simple wave of displeasurable cold wafting over and around the unknown form of the space. The energy had intensified. Stinging swells threatened to siphon the consciousness's vitality in space, and it knew with a primal fear that something was now aware of it. The consciousness felt itself reducing in size as it lost focus, and attempted again to center itself. The something was not here yet, and it still had time to discover more. It needed more to be certain. The consciousness condensed and reoriented to a slimmer, more angular form, trying to direct its senses and the space toward where the sigil had been in the horizon. Slowly, laboriously, the colors returned, wisps at the edges of the place, congealing into faded images that seemed to overlay each other on the boundary of the consciousness's perception. The images converged, opaque pools of color running together as puddles of animate molasses. The consciousness felt itself shrink again from the effort, and was acutely aware of the stinging swells becoming larger and more frequent, and seemingly with more viscosity. Something was getting closer. Willing its power forward, struggling against time and the pressure of the impossible space, it manifested again. I am, and will myself to be. The thought felt dull, and seemed ineffectual. I am of power, and the power wills to be. The images reacted, and seemed spurred on to quickness by the change of tact, but the complexity of their overlaying and constant change was indecipherable. Hear of me, and know that I am. Here I am certain, here I abide. Know of my vigor, and withdraw from before me. The consciousness faltered. The mantras it knew were as powerful as it had ever been taught to use, yet none it knew seemed to match the pace of struggle. The waves were becoming dangerous, and something nearing a direct threat. It could not wait longer. Steeling itself, the consciousness reduced its form to something akin to a needle, hard, long, and sharp-pointed. The quest must be attained, and the risk must be certain. Bend of me, and reveal what I seek. I am Wadrix of the Shardrock tribe. Instantly the waves ceased, and Wadrix felt their form thrust forward against where the tide had seemed in origin. The images before them solidified into one, definite and profound. Impressive peaks topped with bright white, dense green forests stretched well beyond them to the north, where a vast earthen ridge rose in an arc east to west. Immense clouds rose from beyond that earthen arc, and Wadrix was certain they knew where the vision was directing. A large wave enveloped their form, and Wadrix sensed something had arrived. Terror flowed through them, and it took all of their focus to remain steady and not turn from the image before them, revealing the next step in their quest. Oh, we got a new follower and a couple more viewers. Welcome, Elvira7A. Hey, there we go. That's an old hit. I want. Are you, Elvira? I wonder if you are. If your username is referencing the song or referencing the character from, the show. Either way, cool. All right, let me get one more sip of this and we'll keep going. Ugh. Oh no, I think I scared them away. Well, that's what I get for trying to be engaging. Here we go. Terror flowed through them, and it took all of their focus to remain steady and not turn from the image before them, revealing the next step in their quest. The mountains grew larger as they became closer, and soon the impertinent and profound spires of an immense fortress city came into focus. Its pennants of ivory, cerulean and amber flashed against the mountain's side. Smoke of many hearths and forges poured up from behind the city's imposing walls to join the clouds hanging gently above the mountain peaks before they rolled over and down their northern faces into the valley on the other side. A great, carven face overlooked the main gate. Harsh, receding eyes, broad nose and cheeks, immense mustache, and bald pate. Other faces detailed the entry walls, but were soon swept past, unbidden by the vision and the haste of the pursuit from something on their astral heels. Deeper within the city, the vision pushed onward past myriad buildings and inner walls, a marvel to glimpse even at a blurred flight. Welcome, Weircat Wildsand, welcome. Other faces detailed the entry walls, but were soon swept past, unbidden by the vision and the haste of the pursuit from something on their astral heels. A marvel to glimpse even at a blurred flight. Until finally they arrived at a smithy seeming to spring from the wall of another building, seemingly thrown up in a hurry, though obviously in use for many years. At the forge stood a tall, hunched figure beside a much shorter but nearly doubly wider one. They faced away from the vision, but to Wadrix it mattered little. Oh, here we go. It mattered. Mattered little. Beside the forge lay what they sought, the sigil from the earlier vision upon a metal brooch. Okay, so I'm going to take a little pause. So this is where I even made a comment, like as soon as I wrote it. And what I think we might do in a little bit here is just try and decide what Yorn's maker's mark actually looks like, because that's what this sigil is supposed to be. For those of you that were here last week, you might sort of remember one of the descriptions of Yorn is that he's quite tall but kind of hunched over from years of working a little bit too hard and probably skipping some of his better nutrition, though he could certainly afford it. The other character, this much shorter but nearly doubly wider one, I don't know who that is yet. Probably whoever owns the smithy, probably whoever Yorn is working with. We haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, so like this metal brooch, we need to figure out what Yorn's, what his maker's mark is, because this maker's mark is going to be the driving force of what brings Wadrix, Alurka, and Bosmov to Yorn. It's the thing that they're really searching. They don't actually know who Yorn is. Oh. Something was now within the space, and Wadrix could feel its presence beginning to wrap around their own. They repeated the mantras again, quickly and with as much willpower as they could muster. But to no avail. Something was close enough to touch their astral form. I already lost. Okay, so here's a little how the sausage is made of voice acting reading a script. Oh, good question, Wild Sand. So he's just he's a builder, a smith. He kind of whatever. I haven't fully defined what it is specifically he makes. I kind of just wrote him to be this well-rounded, proficient builder, gifted with the ability to just see how things needed to be built. So I think largely we're talking buildings, probably tools, maybe armors, such like that. but he's not really from a war-torn area, so I don't know how much he would be, how much of his time he would spend making weaponry. Sort of the implication from the vision that Wadrix is getting here, which was up here. Yeah, so this place more one building, yada yada yada. So this is kind of I'm trying to describe, although the reader and Wadrix are not supposed to know. I'm trying to describe Yorn's home, the building, his forge, his smithy, his workshop. This building that probably eventually we will need to add further description, because right now this is just some situational irony that we've built in. Landmark from where he is from. Yes. So that's kind of what this is meant to be. But again, this is situational irony, so this is not really something that the three kobolds, Wadrix, are actually going to visit or see, like in person. This is meant to just be the vision is showing this character part of the greater image, because I've always thought that divination is not a very specific thing. It's kind of leading you on, and it's part of what makes it dangerous, because at least in this situation, the longer you try to stay in this astral projected form and to focus on whatever the vision is, the harder it is to get out. Can the landmark be part of the sigil? Ooh, I like that. That's a good point. Can the landmark be part of the sigil? That's cool. There we go. Larger landmark as part of sigil. Oh god. Okay, I'm just gonna make your name shorter. Wild sand. Bam. Because that's super helpful. I like that. Unfortunately, yeah, I think that's what I typed. Unfortunately, what this also means is we're going to have to flesh out more of the terrain around Yorn's home. Probably sooner rather than later, because I haven't super fleshed out like any of his area. I just have a rough idea. But that's nice. I like that. We'll come back to that. Okay. So where did we leave off? Yep. Okay. Something was now within the space. Oh, great. Thank you, Wild Sand. Good to make a connection with another writer. Makes it easier to kind of do this stuff by committee sometimes. Something was now within the space, and Wadrix could feel its presence beginning to wrap around their own. They repeated the mantras again, quickly and with as much willpower as they could muster, but to no avail. Something was close enough to touch their astral form, and something had now heard their source of power. A bold move taught them only to caution against doing so. They remembered their teacher chastising them about revealing it. It was a thing once given form could not be revoked, and it was a thing as dangerous and powerful to use as to be caught. If Wadrix could not win free, they knew, the something would lay claim to their name, in effect, winning control of their soul. Wadrix pushed with the tip of their sharp, angular astral form, willing it toward what remained of the image the vision had produced. If they could just manifest long enough and far enough to... Their form touched the image and instantly tore it asunder. Wadrix woke from their trance with a silent scream, gasping for air, unable to see or to hear. Weak from the struggle, they were unable to move save involuntary shaking, and were only dimly aware they were lying on some sort of padded surface, likely vegetal as it smelled of cedar and earth. A pressure upon their shoulder drew another silent scream, fearful of something having followed from the projection. But this was a warm, assuring pressure. Familiar, a hand. Another gently wiping a warm, damp cloth over Wadrick's temples and crest. They were safe, it seemed, in the care of those they likely knew. Panic subsided, and they felt a great peace fall over them as another familiar hand gently patted their leg and pulled a large woven blanket over their supine figure. Before the blanket was over their shoulder, they had passed into a deep and undreaming slumber, chest rising and falling in slow, restful cadence. Seated beside their friend, the two owners of the familiar hands knelt, relieved at the sight of their slumbering companion. The larger of the two removed their hand from Wadrick's leg and reclined backward from their slumbering form, venting a great sigh. The other, smaller, remained knelt beside Wadrick's, hands delicately holding onto their gently heaving shoulder. "This is a dangerous thing," gently rumbled the larger of Wadrick's friends. "I wish Wadi would not have to do this alone." "Or at all," responded the smaller with a similar compassion. "Dree's struggle is so singular and so fraught, but they are so strong and driven," the big one asserted. "Wadi is an inspiration and a proud reminder of our people's death and erasure," retorted the smaller. "Dree tires themselves for the sake of those long gone, but not removed from the weave. If we can discern the root of their fate from Dree's visions, then we know of something, but have not the power or means to effect anything derived. Please, Gakta," the big one said in a superior tone, craning his head up while broadening his chest. "Your mind must be losing its edge if you cannot see we are lost without a dream of, or a soul of wit." The smaller smoldered, turning with a defiant and dangerous look. "You, Gakta, have never had an edge to dull, and see only the glory of the old songs, while refusing to see. The larger one sat up and loomed over the smaller, back fanning out reflexively, and he struggled to restrain his voice and temper. "With what eyes do you pursue our future? You look only at the next hole to recluse within, the next worm to supper upon. And to what end? Our people are only the three here," barked the smaller, slashing her arm in an encompassing arc. "I hunt our meals, scout our shelters, and seek the way forward for our survival. All our kin, every scale, every talon, every feather, the rest are gone from the world," mumbled Wadrick's, voice barely a whisper. "Taken from us, somewhere we likely cannot follow, no matter how keen our eyes, Bosmov." The large Bosmov shrank from his broad, looming stance and stooped his head in obeisance as he replied, "Wadi, forgive us for waking you. We know how your sight ails you." Wadrix drew a deep, ragged breath and continued unheeding of the large male's apology. "All disappeared, yet their souls still call to us, Alurka. We must seek them, or else their loss will be forever and always, never again to be brought into the weave." The smaller female removed her hand from Wadrix's shoulder and bowed her head in response. "Do you need water, Flame Seer?" she inquired. Wadrix nodded slowly, and Alurka held a crock to her mouth, gently raising their head from the pallet, and slowly poured the cool liquid into their mouth and down their throat. They swallowed painfully and ran their tongue over their teeth and gums, feeling rehydrated phlegm and spittle move again in their mouth, a sickening, gummy sensation. Unable to restrain himself, Bosmov spoke again, inquiring passionately about what Wadrix had seen in their vision. Wadrix accepted another crock of water and swallowed more easily before speaking. Excuse me. "The weave was difficult to consult, but its illumination held substance this time." Wadrix paused, considering briefly their words, the full impact of the something, and the implications of where the visions might be leading them, suddenly connecting in their mind. "We must make our way to a great fortress on the southeastern face of the mountains. to a smithy there. We must find this sigil." They drew the sigil in the dirt beside their pallet. "It is this sigil we must acquire to bring our kin to rest in the weave." And that's as far as I got. So I hope I didn't bring you too far to the edge of your seat. Although maybe I do, because then that makes me happy that I did well writing/reading. So yeah, the sigil is pretty important because it is the mark of what these guys and gals are all following. So actually, since I've got some people in the chat, I'm curious to ask your opinion. So let me go back up to the description I have, the brief description of these characters. So Alurka, meaning small hide run, or something like that, is the egg mate of Bosmov. So basically they're like direct siblings, more or less. And I did my best to kind of figure out an automatopoeia that kind of made sense for a reptilian anthropomorphized species to make. And Gakta seems to make sense to me. I'm not married to it. As the automatopoeia of eggs breaking. So they don't refer to each other as sibling. They refer to each other as the sound of an egg cracking, because that's the first sound they would have heard of their sibling. Wadrix, on the other hand, is not their direct sibling. Maybe, or maybe they are. I haven't fully figured that out. It doesn't really matter. Because of Wadrix's powers, they have a more important facet in let me change scenes here. They have a more important facet in the culture of their clan and their people. So like the ability to have this second sight, this astral projection, this psychic power, whatever it is, place them into not just a place of respect, but a place of leadership, because they can do stuff. Yeah, maybe Wild Sand. I don't know yet. Maybe. I think I'm torn between making them younger or making them older or making them the same age. I don't know if it matters. But either way, I think even if they were the same age, because of their ability, Bosmov and Alurka wouldn't refer to them as their sibling, their Gakta, right? Instead, they would refer to them by honorifics. And this is where, I don't know, this may be controversial. I don't know. But I have written Wadrix to not be male or female. They are hermaphroditic, which is, I don't think, terribly uncommon in reptilian or amphibian species. At least compared to mankind. And so, part of that hermaphroditic nature, and as well the honorific of their, and sort of being emblematic of their seat in the culture, their name is actually just a combination of the masculine and feminine parts of what they would be referred to. So, Wadi, when referred to from their masculine counterparts or from their more masculine aspects when being described, Dree when referred to from their feminine counterparts or when more feminine aspects are being described. So it's not as though Alurka could only describe Wadrix as Dree or refer to them as Dree. They could also say Wadi when it made sense in the moment, and same vice versa with Bosmov. So I wanted to ask the question of, does that make sense in this dialogue? I asked the question of my wife, my housemate, last night, and she said that it kind of worked. But largely what she seemed to pick up on was not that these were semi-gendered nouns, honorifics. I'm not even sure what you'd call it, but more that these were, I guess, more specifically, just honorifics for the same person. So less that it was a name and more like it was a title. So I kind of want to get y'all's opinion of this. Does my intention kind of match up? Does it matter if the intention matches up at this point in the conversation? Or does it really only matter that we are understanding that their culture is very different and that Alurka and Bosmov regard Wadrix as both important and as from a seat of power, they are subservient to this person? Hope my question makes sense. Anybody? Bueller? Oh, and I realize I'm on the... Sorry, forgot I was on the wrong scene. So, what I was trying to highlight and show, Alurga and Bosmov refer to Wadrix as Wadi or Dree, depending on whether they're referring to the masculine or the feminine aspects, or whether they themselves are masculine or feminine in the situation. So does this make sense in the script as I read it, or not? I'm not really sure. I think I am going to have to come back and workshop it a little bit. So you think it's too complex as is? I think I agree, kind of. I don't know, I'm torn. Because this is one of those things that I really like in novels and in stories that I have read or that I've followed for a long time, is I like getting world building. Excuse me. I like getting world building just through like implication in conversations rather than having long diatribes or exposition talking about this kind of stuff. So if possible, I would like to be able to have this work. Maybe I just need to spend more time figuring out more words and terminology that I'm going to use in the story, because this was kind of spurious getting to this automatopoeia and the division of the name. I'm not such a professional writer or anything that I like went through and made an entire language of these kobolds, of these scaly kin. That's a bit much for me. But maybe I need to, you know. Okay, so I think we're gonna take a little short break, so I can go recharge my really craptacular decaf coffee, and when we come back, I think we're gonna explore a little bit of what the sigil is. And thanks to Wild Sand, we have. Oh, did it not save the comment? Oh no. There it is. And thanks to Wild Sand, we have an idea of adding part of a larger landmark from his home to it. So yeah, when we get back, we're just going to be staring at some clip art and staring at some inspiration pictures and maybe sketching something out really shittily in Photoshop. So we'll break for just like 5-10 minutes and then we'll be back. So stay tuned. Let me get the title up here, and yeah, we'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. And that's the wrong bit, but we're just going to leave it at that. So again, 5-10 minutes, we'll be right back. Alrighty, so I think we're back. Yep, looks like we're back. So welcome back, everybody. I think that was a little longer than 10 minutes. My bad. And I didn't even go get more coffee. I am a hack fraud and a liar. I decided when I went downstairs, I decided, you know what, I've already had a cup of coffee, a cup of decaf coffee, and I've only had like a single bottle of water. I should probably drink more water. Because that is not only just better for me overall health-wise, it's also better for my throat. So this is actually something I was going to mention earlier. Maybe a little known fact about performing with your voice is it's really easy to dehydrate your vocal cords, even if you are consuming warm beverages, because a lot of times the warm beverages like teas and coffees and whatnot, they have salts or fats or sugar in them, and that actually kind of drains you of some of your mucosal saturation. I say this, and I'm pretty sure it's accurate, but I'm not a doctor, so if you hear me say big words like that and you wonder if I can give you medical advice, no, go to your doctor. So oftentimes it's just better or advisable to just drink water, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be better. I do like coffee way too much. I don't know if you guys. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you guys are ever this way, but years ago, when I was but a young lad, Hydolite. What is Hydolite? Is that like a hydration additive, like an electrolyte packet? When I was younger, there was a group that I played D&D with. They were actually part of my live action roleplay group, and I made the mistake. I was at a point in my life where having a okay, cool. I'll look into that Hydolite. And yes, in fact, you are hearing me write on my desk because I am a heathen who writes on surfaces that are not paper. So this group. They all had like weird third shift schedules, and I didn't really have a schedule. And I joined their. It wasn't even Dungeons and Dragons. We were playing World of Darkness, specifically the Changeling. And we started our sessions at like 6 p.m. on a Sunday night, after everybody had hopefully showered after being out in the field playing Wacky Bats. And I remember every single night, we as a group of between 4 and 6 people would go through 2 to 3 pots of coffee. Sometimes an entire, like, the thing must have been like a gallon size cold brew jug. I was usually pretty good. I usually only had like 2.5 cups of coffee. Later during our sessions, I switched over to like mixing with decaf, and coincidentally, if you knew me personally, you would already know this. But coincidentally, like a year and a half after being a part of that group, I developed a heart condition. My ticker doesn't work right anymore. Go figure, right? Oh, boy. So Hydrolite. Okay. I kind of had an inkling that it probably was Hydrolite. Hydrolite. Wild Sand, you are just a welcome resource. Okay, so let's talk about this this sigil here. Let's see if I can pull up the right thing here. Not to be confused with Hydro Heavy. Exactly. Okay. Looks like what I have done with OBS seems to have worked. So hopefully this doesn't confuse you by how I've pulled this up. Albeit I am going to have to like look this way to deal with the map on my screens here. So sorry that this presentation maybe looks a little bit weird. Okay, so little bit of a review from last week. So down here, way at the bottom of our continental mass is the place. Try drawing the sigil with your finger. We'll get there. We'll get there. I am not overly gifted with pen and paper. That's what I rely on my wife for. She's an illustrator. So once I get like a sketch going, I'm like, hey, can you do something with this? So Yorn is from this place, Arbia. As I said before our little break, I haven't really done much with the description or the area around Arbia, but I love the idea of Yorn making part of his maker's mark, the thing that he would stamp onto documents and would engrave or stamp onto his work to reflect something from where he was born or where he lived most of his life, something to identify him from that area. Something I think that we didn't get to reading last week and I didn't present this week, that I had already added into some of Yorn's character, is that there is like a large guild network across most of the continent. So this would be a maker's mark that would not only identify him, but it would also identify where he's from, and I think identify maybe either the I don't know, the length or of time that he's been in the guild. I don't know, that might be a little weird to identify, but maybe it would also identify his standing with the guild. You know, is he just a regular? I don't know. I'm thinking of this like tiers of like a subscription model, like AAA. You know, where you are there. I think you start out as just a gold member, and then you become then platinum, and then whatever I am now. I don't know what I've been with them for like 13 years, but I've gotten like 3 different styles of like membership card. You know, I could just oh, this is gonna work. Here we go. AAA membership levels. I could just search this up. Benefits, plans, and levels. Does this give us a... No, I don't want to give you that. No, thank you, membership thing. This might not work. Oh, maybe. Oh, apparently I'm signed in. That's nice. Well, there you go. You can feel free to stalk me online now. Well, that's helpful. That's what I get for signing in on Google Chrome. It knows all of my identifiers. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking, Wild Sand. It would need to have an identifying component of whatever the guild is. Because, but I think that's also, and maybe this is the larger thing, the larger problem, I guess. No, come on, Photoshop. Play nice, please. Is I want Yorn's sigil to identify he is a builder. Let's make this a little smaller, maybe. That he's a builder. not, oh my goodness, not just a smith, but also a carpenter, mason, etc. So he's kind of not really a jack of all trades, but like almost he's competent at all of these things. Maybe not quite a master, but he's well regarded for all of these things. So I think if we can figure out, or if I can figure out how to identify him as a smith, a carpenter, and a mason, all in the same symbol with some sort of identifier of where he's from, then I think we've kind of hit it. So let's get a hammer clip art. Can we get a hammer? Just a really simple hammer. Binary pips. Oh, so like Starfleet in Star Trek. That's not a bad idea. I don't dislike that. I just want, that looks fairly promising. Can I copy image? And maybe just paste. Yeah, there we go. Bam. Got a hammer. Yeah, binary pips. I kind of like that. You know, maybe just a bunch of little circles. Come on. Kind of deal. And I imagine that would circles, I feel like circles would be kind of difficult to add. I mean, I guess it's not terribly difficult to add that to a badge that you're carving out of metal or wood or like some sort of stamp material. Maybe. Oh, this is madness. Please, Photoshop, let me just let me just do the thing here, please. You can tell I'm terribly familiar with all the controls of Photoshop. I'm horribly gifted with it. Yeah, I don't dislike that idea. I'm almost wondering if maybe like squares or some sort of more polygonal feature would work better. Let's grab a let's see, what would a carpenter, maybe like a saw clip art. Yeah, maybe. Are any of these worth their salt? Worth my salt? Maybe we specify old saw clip art. Okay, that's a little better. Maybe like an illustration. I don't know why it had to specify that way. You know, actually, maybe an axe would make more sense. Yeah, let's maybe do an axe. If there are, say, 5 competencies within the guild, each known competency would be filled in if he was regarded in that area. If not, they would be absent. 5 competencies. So I guess when you say competency, you mean like levels of accomplishment, or do you mean um, just oh my god, words, task? uh, so I guess, Wild Sand, are you meaning competencies? Are you meaning their level of mastery, or are you meaning in their okay, cool. I'm glad you glad you're picking up what I'm putting down here. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I wonder. I don't know if I have this document on my thing here. Let me see if I do. So I had so something I had talked about in the previous stream was I have used this world for playing D&D and playing Pathfinder and stuff. I don't think I do. Oh wait, maybe I do, and I just had it in a different spot. And so one of the things that I did, damn, I don't. One of the things that I had done, I think I have it on a different device. One of the things I had done is I had created a I don't even know if created is the right word. I had borrowed from older versions of different games, be it Pathfinder, D&D, GURPS, whatever. I had stolen the currency system of these other systems, other games, to try and make something that made a little more sense to me. I'm very much a fan of like simulation-ist type games. I've always been more a fan of Pathfinder than I have Dungeons and Dragons, unless you go back to like, I don't know, 3.5, 3.0. I like a lot of stuff, I like games that require you to have to like do inventory management and consider a lot of statistical factors, which is weird because I'm not a math guy. I'm not very good at that, but I like that in my games, and I totally get why people don't like that. It's a lot, and so I had created a expanded tier system for the currency as a whole for the world. Maybe this is something that we'll bring up tomorrow. I'll find the chart and the notes that I made on it, and we'll talk. We'll bring that in for tomorrow's stream. But I had expanded what the currency was for basically the whole world, because one of the deities, one of the powers of the world, they had sort of created this. They had created the system of currency for the world. So everyone, basically, I created an excuse of why everyone used the same currency, because I really kind of hated in almost every game that I played. Again, I understand why it's done. As a DM, dear God, it is sort of the worst to have to micromanage. Okay, what region are you in? Are you on pips? Are you on chits? Are you on whatever? And that's madness to track. But also, it's a thing of realism that, like, in the real world, you go to a different country, you probably can't use the same currency that you are in, or that you're the same currency that from the country that you're from. I'm in the U.S. If I travel to Denmark, well, maybe that's not a great example. If I was from, I don't know, Tajikistan, I probably can't use whatever their currency is in Vietnam. There are different systems of currency. Like, yeah, you could get it exchanged, but that means you have to go to an institution, talk about exchange rates, get it exchanged, yada yada yada. So maybe I think what I'll do is I will. Wild Sand, I like that idea of the The 5 levels of competency. I like that idea quite a lot. So I think we will include that. Can I copy paste? And then let's zoom in a bit because it'll be easier to grab things. Please let me grab things. Oh, Photoshop. We'll have 5 levels of competency. I wonder if actually having the levels displayed on the rim of the stamp might be more that would probably be more legible and would hold up better over time probably than having small little pips like this, and would allow more space for the identifying information of the symbols themselves inside. So I think that might be what we do instead. Yeah. Actually, let's just get rid of these other little ellipses because they're a little less helpful overall. Did I even copy that? Nope, I didn't. Let's go grab our saw. Or our axes, rather. And paste that gargantuan, well, not gargantuan, but well oversized image. You know what? Instead, let's paste that into a new document. And we will just take part of this. No, not quick selection. I want the lasso. I've always wanted a bearded axe style axe. Not because I need one personally, but just because I like the look of it. And let's rotate you around. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I don't dislike that kind of that motif of crossing. Used Wild Sand using different shapes for the levels of how competent he is in that task. It's a cool idea, but again, I'm trying to think of if you're making this thing to be a stamp, I wonder how difficult that would be to understand if it had, if you had a triangle and you had a circle and you had just a whatever polygon. That's very obviously different for all of those things, but I think also it might just look too complex and would be fairly difficult to. Well, then again, we're having this. I mean, this is not the final shape of these things, but because this is going to be simplified to a large degree. I don't know. Maybe we'll come to that. You make good points, Wild Sand. Maybe I should just replace my brain with your brain, and then, but then your own writing would suffer because you'd have my brain. So no, maybe this meeting of the minds is just what I've needed all along. Okay, so he's got the hammer for being a smith. He's got the axe for being a carpenter or whatever. If he was a mason, maybe a plumb bob. Well, let's see if we can. Plumb bob. Does Google know what I mean? It does. Aw, sick. Sure, we'll go with this one. Why not? And again, we will just come over here, paste. Oh, it's huge. And then let's. Which one do I like? I think I like this one. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Let's take this guy. I can't draw. That's good enough. Come back to our other one. Let's see. You could use a different shape for the levels of quantities in the task. Then you would be dealing with my with my dragons who are academics. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. Yeah, a little plumb bob. Something like that, maybe. I think, oh, I should have labeled my layers. I'm a fool. Maybe we drop those guys down a little bit, have the bob take up a little more space, drop him below the circles. So then maybe in this area here, let's think about let's bring up our map again. What things, again, I haven't really fleshed this out very much, but what things would Yorn, what would make a big impact on him? So like this, this mountain range, the South Mounts Fall, it attaches into this larger mountain range here with a slight dip in the center. But also there's this, he's basically on the edge of the continent. So maybe the coast, and maybe the lighthouse of like the city that he worked in, something like that. Like maybe that would be cool. That would be a oh my gosh, a big thing that he would see all the time. Lighthouse clip art. That, something like that, maybe. Yeah, we'll steal that. Who needs attribution? Not me. Never. And let's see if we can just trace around this a little bit. Something like that. And cut it out. And paste it in. Oh, it's even like close to the right size, sort of, kind of. Drop him down. Is there a sea stack or waterfall from the mountain range? I hadn't thought that there was going to be a waterfall near there. I wanted this to be sort of reminiscent of like the Southern California coast-ish. So it's relatively arid. I guess. Because this is also closer. I think I have it on the map here. Well, I didn't identify it, but so these are meant to be latitudinal lines, latitudinal lines, and they were. I sketched them in there well before really figuring out the overall planetary size and scale and all that. So I'm not even fully married to where these are. I had initially intended for this to be closer equatorial than the rest of this. So this is, a lot of this is temperate, and a lot of this up here is bordering on more northerly, still temperate, but less warm in the summer, colder in the winter, whatever those definitions would be. So I don't think I want to do a waterfall. I think I actually like the idea of like I almost said water tower, of like lighthouse, and we did say let's 12 Apostles Sea Stacks. Where's that at? When I was a kid, I went to Australia. We traveled up and down the more or less the eastern seaboard. Where's the 12 Apostles at? That sounds dope as hell. 12 Apostles, Princetown in Victoria, huh? Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, where is that? Did I just miss this, or was this in a place that we didn't go? I think this is in a place we didn't go. Oh yeah, yep, yeah. We didn't quite get down there. We didn't go much farther south than I'm gonna butcher it, Canberra. um, that's cool though. Yep. Can I just please? I just want images. Yeah, I do. I do like that. I don't know that I like that for where he's from though. Um, Kind of more what I was thinking. Um, South, uh, California coastal cliffs. Yeah, so something kind of like this is probably terribly small for you guys. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. That's less than helpful. Thank you, Google. So something kind of like this is kind of what I was envisioning. So I have family that lives in SoCal, and I remember as a kid getting to travel around some of like Santa Monica, LA area, and all the way down into south of San Diego. What's the name of that park? Like Balboa Park area. I wonder if we can get a Balboa Park. I wonder if we have any like images of the, because they had like a little valley that you could dip down into at Balboa. I doubt we'll get any pictures of that. That would be too helpful. But yeah, there's like a little valley. Actually, I don't even know if it's truly a part of Balboa Park or if it's just like adjacent to it. It's been decades since I went there when I was a kid. I don't really visit that part of my family very much. But it had sort of this ruddy but colorful look to a lot of the valleys area. Less this like sandy look, more this sort of ashen colored cliffs with different grasses and lichens, really stark cliffs like that. That's kind of what I was thinking for his for where he's from. And I think I do know where I would like to add that's the 12 apostles style stuff. And I feel like in the depths of my brain, I know what that sort of geological formation is supposed to be called, but it's not coming to my brain right now. I'm thinking like somewhere over this way would be a cool addition. I think I'll have to do a little bit of research to see if that would make sense for this area, because I had envisioned, we've got these big marshes here, and I had intended that there was going to be a lot of like tributary pushing out this way, and then another span of like some arid areas towards this way. 12 apostles, that's cool. I'm gonna write on my desk again because I like that. But let's see if we can get like a cliff clip art. Illustration. Yep. Cliff clip art. This is... okay. Yeah. So this is kind of along the lines of what I was thinking when we were describing his... where were we at? We were... Oh, goodness. Where were we at where we were describing his... I think that was down with the vision. So... Let's see. Yeah, so at the edges of the horizon, colors began to flicker, then spasm. A distant place somewhere the consciousness was unaware of. A great and powerful sea stretched out beyond, gray beaches that cut up against stark, salt-sprayed cliffs of color-strewn rock. Beside the cliffs, sprawled out as though tumbled from their heights, a city of some size stretched, eventually butting against the quay of its own harbor where great vessels maneuvered. Buildings of many sizes and of foreign design, yada, yada, yada. So, the cliffs would be a cool thing to add, but maybe instead... remember that this has to be transferred when the stamp is struck or burned in the object he is working on. Exactly. That's I want to keep this fairly simple so that it'll be legible. Thank you for the reminder, Wild Sand. So yeah, maybe a cliff face would not be great. Although if it's more abstract, that would still probably work. How large is this going to be? Okay, not bad. I just want this as an idea. Because if we, simplify this cliff face idea just into... let's get something obnoxious and pink. Yeah. If we just had, that kind of thing, just that kind of motif, just bring in the shape of the cliffs near his home. I think that might be acceptable, because we're really just going to break the axe down into pretty simple shape, the hammer into pretty simple shape. And I'm not even married to them crossing over. Almost looks like a top, but it's meant to be a plumb bob. And I feel like this space here... Yeah, I kind of like having the cliff just be this shape behind everything. What did I do with my... Nope. Where did I put the... There it is. So I kind of like actually having just this very simple cliff shape, and maybe we actually do have the pips like that, maybe, and maybe even different shapes, like you were saying, Wild Sand, to denote the... I don't know what that was supposed to be. To denote the proficiency levels, maybe, along here. And then, maybe instead of just showing exactly where he's from, maybe also he has, his initials basically in this. Oh, you can't see. Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. That would probably be helpful. Sorry about that. I left the script up there. So, something like this. and what I was saying is maybe he has his like, and I don't even think I ever defined what his last name was going to be. But maybe he has like his initials as part of his maker's mark. We'll just go with M, Yorn maker, to kind of fill in that space and make it very defined, because it shows that he's a builder. It shows the cliffs of his home. That would be very obvious, I guess. I mean, maybe I still like the lighthouse, but I feel like that would just be maybe, I don't know, that might be too complex to put into this thing. And like a ship's sail, I think, would also be weird to put in there. I think this is going to take some thinking, some thunking. Maybe I will consult with my illustrator wife because she can help me with the graphic design of this. But these are a lot of cool ideas, and I think White Sand, I'm leaning more heavily to doing this kind of thing where each level of competency is a different shape rather than just Starfleet pips or 40K pips of different, because they wouldn't even be different colors. This would just be different. The different shapes, I think you're right, would better denote variance and intensity. Maybe the more angular the shape, the more emblematic of proficiency. Meh. Well, I think... See, how are we doing on time here? What time is it? It is... All right, it's just about 9 o'clock, so that's where I have to leave it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody, and especially thanks to Wild Sand for giving me a ton of great ideas and making this a joint team effort. Although I feel like I'm more bungling and stumbling over what my thoughts are here than I am making anything of real significance, but that's fine. This doesn't have to be anything amazing or outrageous. This is for me. This is for me. So yeah, I will be streaming again tomorrow morning, same time, same place, same whack channel, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern, whatever that means. So I guess for the Aussie, oh goodness, that's going to be, you guys are what, 14? What's the better way to do that? I should know this. This is part of my. This is worrying me now. I have a drone license, a commercial drone licensure study test that I'm taking in like 5 hours, and I should know what your time is compared to Zulu, and I don't. So the next several hours are going to be me poring over 1 a.m. Okay, I mean that kind of makes sense. It should be earlier. And you guys are on tomorrow already. Right? No, International Dateline is in between us. Right? I think that's how that works. Or is it tomorrow? No, it's tomorrow over there. You guys are. It's the 19th where you're at, right? Am I insane? Am I crazy? Okay, cool. I am insane. I am crazy. Okay, cool. Well, Wild Sand, you should probably hit the hay, dude. Like, that's pretty early. I am the kind of person to fall asleep every night by like 10 o'clock at the latest and then wake up at 5:30, no matter what. So I would say you need to get some good rest, some Betty buys. And for the rest of you that are or are not watching right now, hope you have a good weekend, good day, good whatever. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. So I guess for Wildcat or Wild Sand, that would be 11 p.m. when I start, I think, right? Ish, yeah, 11 p.m. So it wouldn't be unreasonable for you to tune in again. But I might, if you do tune in tomorrow, I might tell you at about midnight, like, hey man, Why don't you go to bed? Unless you work third shift or something, and then okay, I get it. You're just up at that time anyways. So anyways, I'm out of here. I got to finish studying for my exam in a few hours. Hopefully by tomorrow, I will come back with a little card that says I am a pilot. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and helping me out. Well, I think we'll just pick up with some more story stuff tomorrow.